Hirsi Ali's personal story is undoubtedly compelling. What is surprising is her refusal to recognize the subjective dimensions of spiritual belief and appreciate a concept of freedom that allows women to define their own paths to empowerment, even if they are different from her own. Let's hear it from Hirsi Ali, an apostate of Islam, whose friend Theo Van Gogh was murdered by a Muslim fundamentalist. What is your view of Islam's stance towards Muslim women?
A woman in Islam is not competent and must always have a guardian. The responsibility of guardianship may pass from father to brother to uncle before a girl is married off, at which point she must answer to her husband. Marriage is typically arranged with no choice given to the girl, and there is often an exchange of money in the process. Thus, under the religious rule of Islam, it is still common today that a woman's rights are essentially sold to a man she may not know, and most likely does not love.
Many Muslims do not agree with her opinions. Much of what she spoke about echoed from her own ignorance of Islam. I believe Hirsi Ali should really be criticizing the group of adherents who violate the principles of Islam. Islam is perfect, but the followers are not. Islam has given women their rights which they are deprived of before the advent of Islam. The Prophet says, assuredly, women are the twin halves of men. A woman in Islam has the same right to get an education. The Prophet says, to seek knowledge is obligatory on every Muslim. Hirsi Ali has a problematic interpretation of Islam. Here, she failed to recognize the failure of Muslim men in carrying out of their responsibility of ensuring the good welfare of which a Muslim woman should have received, and is also one of their rights. The duty of providing maintenance and protection and overall welfare of his wife is the husband's first duty. Financial responsibility for the family rests on the husband. The wife has no duty to contribute to family expenses unless she wished to do so. If a man fails to maintain his wife, then he will call upon God to justify his action. Men are given the responsibility to provide for women. Hirsi Ali. What other Islamic values that seems to be a problem to you?
The lengths a Muslim society will go to in the pursuit of sexual control often cross into the territory of the absurd, and, by Western standards, criminal. In Islam, the minimum age of marriage for a girl is after her first menstruation. Muhammad was engaged to his wife, Aisha, when she was 6 years old, and he married her, had intercourse with her, when she turned 9. Millions of Muslim men across the world follow Muhammad in this deed.
Hirsi Ali's logic flawed through most of her book, but she says a lot of nonsense, clever dangerous nonsense, because it confirms people's prejudices. She does not seem to actually know much about the actual teachings of Islam, but only those cultural negative practices that she escaped. She doesn't seem to have taken the time to learn or to analyze the differences between cultural and religious dogma, or to understand how much of which of these applied to her own story. She grossly misrepresents Islam and is becoming a tool, in a sad way, for the far right of the political spectrum. Let us hear from other Muslim women about the lies of Hirsi Ali.
Hirsi Ali was highly critical of Islam's stance towards Muslim women, but in a manner that was very offensive. She made reference to passages in the Quran that she argued not only condoned, but in fact called for violence towards women. However, she did not cite specific verses and suggested things that are simply untrue. For example, she said, there are verses in the Quran that permit rape. I have never seen these, and I am sure other Muslims would say they do not exist. In fact, in Islamic law, there is a harsh punishment for a rapist, not the other way around. The irony is that, while Hirsi Ali is applauded for her courage in fighting for and finding personal freedom, she now denies others such rights. In unleashing her wrath on Islamic fundamentalism, she has unwittingly become a fundamentalist herself.
I find it further disappointing that she is questioning the morality of Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, and by doing so, is likening him to all men of the Muslim faith, and the atrocities they subject Muslim women to. She, once again along with many others, is basing this on his relationship with Aisha. It seems is the only issue on which they can strongly attack the Prophet. If Ayaan actually knew something on the topic, she would know it has been extensively researched and written about. When taking into context the things written in the Quran, dates of wars, ages of people, etc., it is quite easy to build a timeline that places Aisha's age at much higher than what was stated. No revising history necessary, just correctly mapping out a chain of events